Mid laner, so Orianna Talia, something that we do see frequently sort of touched on, maybe in the early stages of the draft, maybe in the early stages of the game as well. We'll see what it is, because we've seen Yunara given over and then given Kai'Sa as a response, but to some different levels of success.
I'm curious here. I still feel like so many options. Okay, the Yunara is going to be the ban. I was wondering if we maybe get a little bit more jungle focus against Tian, but you still leave up so many solo lane options for both sides on the table, as well as the jungle options on there, as the Gwen comes in first pick for Breathe.
Yeah, and that's a really big takeaway, not just from Flandre, but in terms of the power that this champion has. So frequently we talk about how strong these Game 1 B1s can be, and the Gwen actually a very powerful pick to be taking for yourself. It's just such a strong team fighter. I don't need to go into the power that Gwen has. We've all seen it so frequently through this split that this champ just goes crazy. Flandre able to respond with a Rumble, and now you'd like to think that if they want the Talia, if they want their jungle pick as well, this is where they'll have to make that decision. And I think that taking a mid laner here is probably the big deal. Is probably getting that Talia on the board as soon as. Seems to be what I would have gone for. Instead, they take the Wukong, and this then gives over the Xin Zhao Talia duo if Weibo want it. And I know that Tian frequently has defaulted back to that pick.
This has been a classic for AL Red sides, though. They really like that Rumble in game number 1 for Flandre. They love setting up around it as well. They're going to get that Wukong on the side of it, a little bit more, I guess, skirmish power for Tarzan. But there, you get the double lock into the bot lane potentially here with the Kai'Sa Nico.
Well, guess what we're doing here, Marcel, in game number 1 as Weibo? We are diving. We are going in, and there are no concerns about their ability to be able to do that. It now opens up for Weibo. What do they want for AL? How are they going to answer this? Can they start drafting some disengage? Can they start drafting something that will stop them in their tracks? They opt into the Annie here. I think they could have gone for a Silas as well if they wanted something that was really, really defensive and, you know, had a good job at keeping the team safe. But, you know, they've got some good team fight power themselves, AL here, and they're going to need to try and match that bot lane in the second phase.
Shanks has also had a pretty lethal Annie here as of late. Some of the decisiveness in those big combos feels really good. In the second phase, though, we already get that Galio ban, so really trying to take away some of that mid matchup. Look at Xiaohu smiling his way away, but he knows that he's the next focus coming into this one as Rakan is banned by Weibo.
And then Victor should get banned here by L. Not is it just a great matchup for the Victor, but it's probably one of Xiaohu's best played champions so far. We obviously still have Talia open if they want to try and take that off the board as well. Orianna, another pick that, again, can be picked into this as a Weibo player here with Xiaohu. You know, you've got a really good synergy with the Pop Blossom and the Shockwave. Pop them both on top of the Nico and expect to see great things happen. So I don't think that Xiaohu is starved of picks to take here, but just getting away some of those premier answers here as AL.
Yeah, I actually appreciate that. You know, give some respect over to Xiaohu, deservedly so. Although I would say, you know, his combinations with Tian have not nearly borne the fruit that it had at some point in the past. But this last focus here will end up being the Rel, so they are heavily focusing on Kael and some of the premier picks he brings to the table.
So Hope has got a lot of picks still to go for here. Corki's open. We've still got Lucian if he wants that. Sivir as well. Jin, another pick that we've seen frequently defaulted back to. But for the support role, I think that Kael definitely in a little bit of a pinch with the Rakan and Rel taken off the board. Taking Alistair versus Nico can be quite tricky because you go in and then immediately get CC'd. Yes, you can trade your ulti for that, but not necessarily the easiest position for Kael to find himself in. They could look to go for a more disengage option, but I do think that the Braum gets bullied by the Nico, and that makes that laning phase really, really tricky, especially when you've got this Corki into Kai'Sa matchup that's really winning down on the bot side in terms of the AD carries. So I'd like to see them go for something that will help them in that bot lane in the support role as well. Try to be a bit aggressive.
And I'm always a fan of giving Kael a counter pick here once he sees the entire draft, kind of giving him an angle, because we said how important both the supports impacts will be on the map itself. It will be the Skarner with the Orianna as the final lock-ins for Weibo, so they're really opting into that mid-jungle combo now.
I actually really like the Skarner takeaway here, or Skarner pickup for Tian. Normally we'd see something a bit more AD focused, but I look at the composition from AL and I'm looking at their consistent DPS. Sort of thinking, you know, AL, they've not got that insane DPS. They've got really good burst and really good setup for the first sort of 2-3 seconds of a team fight. But if they can't kill Tian in that, that's going to be a real cause for concern, and in a situation where Weibo probably want to start running through these fights. Obviously, if AL are able to find an advantage, they can snowball that lead, they can probably burst anybody who's there. And with this Kael bod that gets locked in, expectation is that they'll be able to try and find some semblance of power through this early game.
their pick potential is actually pretty insane here. I mean, they do have some team fighting aspects to their comp, but if you want team fighting, it's like the bread and butter right now for Weibo. They just want to group as 5 and take a fight once they have items, once they have that scaling going online for them. And Gwen will always be a power in the side lane, but I love that Weibo kind of gave themselves a low bar of execution here.
Yeah, and I think that as well, looking at what Weibo have drafted, just the synergy between these champions is insane. If you land an Impale, then that just sets up for every other ultimate to come through. Even a 2-man, they can land 3, absolutely great, but it's just so easy, it feels like, for this Weibo composition, 2-5 versus 5, and it looks like AL are going to have to do some, I'll say, really large amounts of gymnastics to try and evade that.
We'll see if they've gotten warmed up already for game number 1. And we are getting warmed up for this one. I gotta see the impact Kael has on this Bard. There's a reason they give him 5th pick. And there's a reason why he goes for the Bard. It's a comfort for him, but he's got a lot of things to stop in this comp, in these fights. And I'm really, really curious at kind of how this jungle matchup goes that we focus so early on, because it is a little bit more of that mechanical ceiling there for Tarzan. It seems like AL have drafted a comp that says, we feel better in the moment. We're using some of this 4-win streak momentum to try to crash into Weibo, and I want to see if they can keep it to the T, to keep it to a 5-win streak here tonight. See if they can handle this Weibo team, who did take them down the last time we saw them face. Jayo's roar as we get into the first game of the night. Weibo versus AL.
You know what? A quick in and out. The fans
easy.
were not wasting any time. Second we load onto the Rift, they are immediately there and ready. Our AI bot at the bottom favouring AL as we get later and later into this game, giving Weibo a 50-50 chance through the early stages of this. I, again, do think that in these team fights, looking very heavily for how well we can see the Skarner Impale be used, and I think that sets up really nicely for the story that we wanted earlier on, Mazel. In that it is those junglers that we want to keep our eyes on, and both of them today have got really important jobs, and in this game number 1, that is the exact same.
It is indeed. I'm very curious where they're looking to path early. I mean, obviously you have the opposite side starts now, but the thing about both these junglers is they love to go with a little bit of weird paths sometimes. So sometimes they'll go for one camp, circle around. Oh my god, the double binding there. Kael strutted his stuff already.
Yeah, I mean, Weibo, that's a misplay, unfortunately. As much as we can call out Kael for being really good at making sure that that binding lands, it's Bard. Never walk on top of each other. Just rule number 1, right?
Rule number 1.
That's a really easy
thing.
thing.
They're doing it again. They're doing it. Okay. They're fine. They're fine.
Well, hopefully that we can look to improve upon going through the rest of this game. Not just because Cosmic Bindings, but also the Tempered Fate.
Yeah, that's going to be the big ticket item there. But this Prio and bot side, we talked so much about what Prio will do for these teams, and especially these junglers. It's early, so this isn't going to pan out to too much, but you love to see AL trying to push their tempo there. Also in that corner, saw 200 games for Kael in the LPL. One of the kind of, I feel like, biggest impacts from an import we've seen over such short time for a team that was struggling when they brought him in, but since then, it's been nothing but rainbows, it feels like.
Yeah, a really solid start out to his LPL career, and now 200 games in as well. It's it's going quickly, but kudos to him for his ability to sort of take the mantle of the support role. And we were sort of saying, I think, at the beginning of the year, we're waiting for those next generations of LPL supports because it's frequently such a powerful role and has been in history. We look back at the likes of, Mako, Crisp, even in that conversation. But they've not really been hitting the same way, and we're waiting for that new genre, those new generation of supports to come through. Feels like Kael might be one of the first of a long line of supports that could be up to this test to try and carve their names in the history books.
All right, we're looking at the culmination of the jungle paths. We'll see if this first flyby ends up getting anything. Will be the scuttle trades immediately by Tian and Tarzan. The back gets initiated. Tarzan might have an angle to get something going bot lane. Looks like he might fish.
Looks like they're going for a dive onto Crisp here. They can pick up a very quick kill with the Nico having no summoning heal and no HP.
They have to do it fast. Tian is coming out of the base, and they already get the kill. First blood goes to AL. Nothing else. Oh! Oh my god, the delay tape, but Light wants it. Oh, that might have been a little bit too much, Light. He doesn't have any mana. Tarzan doesn't end up rounding the corner. Close, but no cigar. First blood for AL.
I don't like that from Light. He forces the Hope out of Flash, and I respect that Hope actually flashes right there, knows that he's got 4 stacks of Plasma, 1 more auto attack is going to take him down. So it's a really good flash out from Hope, and if Light had flashed forward, would have probably signed himself to death, and instead just decides, you know, I'll deal with the loss that I've taken in the fact that my support's gone down. And I do like the early dive there from AL. It's honestly really quick, really seamless to pick up. I think Hope tanking 1 turret shot just too many there does give over a little bit of an advantage back to Light. But they find the first kill. Wukong on the board pre-level 6 is always a big win. And it's not necessarily the biggest deal here that they take down Crisp, but it's an extra bit of gold into the back pocket of the Wukong. That's a long sword instead of it just being the Sheen in the inventory for that second scrap.
And we already have the lane swap coming through from Weibo, so I do appreciate this, just kind of taking this preemptively here. The Dragon has spawned on one side. Breathe has now reassigned himself down to the bot side, but it definitely seems like Weibo is just going to give this early game a little bit of a cooldown and wait for that grub spawn.
I think that they're entitled to do that. I do think that we've looked at their early game and maybe their mid-game composition and looking at the power spike that they are going to accomplish. They probably want to do something, as Shanks, you know, good tippers down in the mid lane to try and get a little bit of control over Xiaohu, but doesn't have too much mana to try and follow up with. But this AL comp thrives in the mid-game to round back to the point. 2-item Corki, 2-item Annie, the 1-item spike for the Wukong and the Rumble as well. Much past that, I do tend to favour Weibo, actually, as the game gets that little bit later, but we'll see another dive topside.
Flandre is going to get an Install's impact into the wall, and the CC is too much to handle. Tian gets the response to Tarzan's first blood.
Yeah, actually dings level 6 and isn't quite able to use that in a way that is effective. Can't use the equalizer to catch this wave, can't use the equalizer to really prevent a dive from happening. He does have teleport, so he's going to TP straight back up to this top side, and you can see, look who's still lurking and waiting in that brush.
Oh, Breathe? Breathe? He might be fine in a 1v2. He has level 6. Here comes the equalizer this time. Will it mean the same difference, the same outcome? Light! He's going to force the flash away. Flandre wants it. Flame Spitter to the back. Light trying to run away. Light can't run away from Flandre. He gets the 1 kill, but he's immediately going to die after. 2 Tian. Actually, goes over to Crisp in the end. So the World Championship duo comes back together to get a kill on top side.
Breathe using the needlework down bot side. Still has R3 to slow up Tarzan and should be able to walk it out. Cyclone was available for Tarzan, but with no damage from Hope nearby, doesn't decide to commit to that. And it's a 1-for-1 on that top side. It's Flandre pulling up a dive or pulling out of a dive there really well. And I think maybe even getting a little bit aggressive, you know, flashing over, trying to take down Light. Could have just accepted that he was going to get away with it and be able to secure that wave. Instead, goes for even more on this top lane. And, you know, you can see he's TP'd in here. Not necessarily using that equalizer to its greatest extent in terms of focusing down Weibo. Instead uses it as a Victor laser to clear the wave, but then realizes he's done a lot of damage to Light in the interim and decides to go all the way for it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I appreciate that from Flandre. That's one of those moments you're just like, I got you, Light. What are you going to do about it? It's a top lane diff.
Yeah, that's
gonna feel good,
AD carry versus top lane moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do anything about it. Like, it's just unfair.
You could, I will argue, you could not take 400 damage from a tower shot.
No. Hey, that doesn't fit my narrative, all right, Rudy?
I see.
Let's calm down.
Ignore me. Forget I said anything, Rizal. Don't worry about it. But I think that those early kills and the early bits of gold that are going into Flandre's back pocket, like, let's look at how the gold leads have developed more so than anything, as the top lane and mid lane both with slight advantages for AL, and the same to be said actually for that bot side. The death for Light means that he's not able to farm up that extra wave, and does mean that for the time being Hope just barely ahead in terms of gold, and maybe more importantly a little bit further ahead in experience as well. Means that he's going to have the opportunity to move into these grubs to secure those for AL, and then use that to actually give a good, again, neutral objective lead over to the Pandas.
Okay, well, they're going to go ahead and take that one. No contest from Weibo. Weibo really, truly are just okay playing to their comp strengths. Tian's going to move in for a little bit of a late contest, but realizes it's already gone. Turns right back around. Redeploy coming out from Weibo now as they reset that bottom side of the map. And I don't know. I feel like that might come back to hurt Weibo in the future. But we'll see what the payout ends up being there. But giving over 3 grubs just like that never feels too good. Especially if the comp like this has such good picks and can kind of take tempo off the back of it. But I do want to check into the jungle setup here because it's been pretty quiet on the home front. I mean, both of them have gotten a kill. Both of them have had an impact on the map. But it's not that kind of invasive style that we maybe expected coming into the day.
And I think that might come down to a little bit of, in terms of the champions that we've drafted, right? Skarner and Wukong, they don't have the early game damage and the early game power that we might have hoped for from these 2 junglers to be able to have that invasive gameplay that you've talked about. If we're at a Trundle, where it is in Zao, where at a Pantheon, yes, absolutely, then we'd be looking to them to make those plays. But really, for both of these junglers, you want level 6 before you're looking to make those massive moves on the map. And now that both of those has been hit, Xiaohu is forced to flash out of the mid lane.
That was close. Still got the hands.
He's now got no flash for the next 5 minutes.
Too. He's got the catalyst here.
He has, which means that he'll be just a little bit more durable in these team fights. It's going to take him a little bit longer to try to turn on, and I actually really like going for, this is going to sound really weird, but Rod of Ages versus Annie. Annie is a champion that so frequently sacrifices experience, sacrifices CS to be able to be a part of team fights and to be able to instigate things around the map. So actually taking Rod of Ages can kind of accelerate how much further ahead of this champion that you can get. You know, you do typically make it a little bit of an experience lead over an Annie. If you get a Rod of Ages as well, you can A, survive all of her burst, and then B, you can start to propel yourself even further ahead of the curve.
Oh man, I do. Does this first item spike really change much in regard of what AL can do to press this kind of tempo? Because I feel like, I mean, we're still on the verge of it, but it definitely feels like the double Trinity force here for Tarzan and Hope, and so it is going to take a little bit longer to get to that spike. We do have another dragon coming up, and they would love to keep getting that stacked up, but do they have the pressure to be able to do so? As an all-in comes in onto Shanks, or from Shanks.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely do. I think that the power of this composition is this early game. As long as they get every neutral objective through the early stages, then it might not seem like they're generating advantages, but it's those intangibles. It's those things that you can't see in a gold graph that they are picking up, right? I think that they've done so far so good. They got the first Drake, they got all 3 grubs. They have pushing lanes in bot lane and in mid lane. Not really had too much of an opportunity to look at the Flandre Breathe matchup, but I think that the exhaust for Breathe is a bit of a threat that Flandre needs to be cognizant of. And you can see second Drake spawned, AL there on immediate spawn, and it looks like Tian is looking to make a play on the top side, but Flandre sat here under this turret. Once again, no equalizer this time, has got flash.
He does. Flandre's like, man, why you gotta come back over here? He steps through the Install's impact. The turret's starting to chunk, but it's not going to be nearly enough. Flandre tries to get away, does end up flashing, has the speed from the phase rush and his W. He's able to get out of there. He might be ran down here, though, as Crisp is trying to look for him on the back end, but the TP comes through and he's out of there.
All right, so he survives on this top side. He burns double summoner spells for it, and I think realistically that ward, if it had gone down just a little bit earlier, he would have known and could have maybe tried to back out to safety. But he spent so much of the time on that top side distracting Weibo. AL aren't just getting a dragon for this, they're getting a ton of gold on these turrets as well. Remember, this is a fully completed Trinity Force for the Wukong, so actually those Sheen procs are going crazy with the crushing blows as well. It's not even close, and those 3 grubs stacking up also means that they secure not just the second dragon of the game, but also that first structure, contributing now to those feats of warfare.
It seems like the 3 grubs came back to bite them. I don't know about you, Rude.
It does look that way.
It seems like the instant gratification is truly the benefit of our generation here in the LPL. Really good macro plays from AL. The lead is obviously dead even between the two, but just knowing the situation, the way they want to play, I still do like that Weibo have been very reserved. They will be hitting first items for majority members. That Rod of Ages there for Xiaohu, so he'll start stacking up. And they truly drafted a comp that they know spikes in that mid to late game, looks for those big team fights, and they said, we're going to go PvE until then. I mean, they've tried to get some ganks up top side, but it hasn't really paid out for them all that well. But they really are just kind of letting AL play their game and knowing that they have a long-term goal in mind. And I don't know if I like it.
It really is putting the onus on anyone's legend. It's making them go out and win the game before Weibo just win it by proxy.
Yeah.
Right? If we get to 30 minutes and the gold lead is still 200 gold, we're feeling pretty good about Weibo. If we get to that position and AL have actually, you know, taken an Atacon, they've taken a Soul, then we start to think actually AL have done a pretty good job, and maybe Weibo could have done a little bit more a little bit earlier to try to have prevented that from happening. It's a question of, once again, looking at these supporting members of the team. I think Kael with a lot more agency to set up picks than Crisp. The Tempered Fate obviously just a lot longer range, does make it that bit easier. But what you'll notice as well is as soon as that turret fell down on the bot side, I like that Weibo swapped out the Orianna. A laner with no flash in a long lane like that, with a Bard on the enemy team, is going to feel very, very scared. Instead, they swap her up to the top side, give her that safety of a tier 1 turret, and make sure that she's not really under threat until that flash comes back up.
And I know we called like shot calling, kind of direction making by Tarzan and Tian, but at this point in the game with the picks we have from both our supports, it feels like they're the ones that are playing chess right now. Like Crisp and Kael have so much power to get things going for both of their teams. The impact can be felt by both these picks.
And we'd like to see them actually have that, as we're seeing a lot of grouping up towards this mid lane now, that top side and bot side largely being left alone. Kael able to portal out over the wall, but nobody's farming this top wave. We're seeing Shanks get a little bit of a push down on the bot side. Rift Herald spawned 15 seconds ago, and that's what these teams are looking for. Weibo decided that they're done giving up these objectives, and you know, Shanks has got teleport, so he can join this.
Yeah, I'm a little worried if Weibo pulled the trigger a little early here, but they are just going to get this burned down. Xiaohu's going to get hit by the Tempered Fate. Big Crisp Pop Blossom on a 2. The flash play comes through. They get the double Tango Barb as well, and Pre is doing work with this needle work here. The Impale only hits on a 1. Is it enough? The Shockwave comes through on a 2 members, but Tarzan is still chunking people, and Light's getting low. Equalizer goes a little bit wide.
Forward.
Flashes forward, and Hope is looking to make the difference. That dog has its day, and it's not Weibo's any longer. Hope gets a couple kills there. Tian's now getting a little bit low. They go for him on the back end of it. Tian goes down. AL completely, cleanly, almost ace Weibo. And it looks like that might just be the case here. Crisp is going for some Alco Gaming, but Hope has his number, and Flandre is going to try to help him get this one. The Yordle crew has come for you, Crisp, as an ace comes through for AL.
Yeah, a complete travesty on the top side for Weibo. I really liked the start out to all of this, but AL didn't let them go without that fight. It's a fight for nothing in the top side, and now AL with that massive advantage. Crisp zones AL really well here. I like the early Valk from Hope, anticipating Crisp's flash, but then Weibo opt into this fight. This isn't where their composition thrives. It still isn't a good point, and importantly as well, those big ticket ultis don't really fully sync up. We don't get to see Light diving onto a high priority target in the backline. Shockwave only hits 2, Impale only hits 1, and the Needlework, as much as it does zone out some people, it's not the important targets. A lot of the damage that Breathe did was onto Kael, which doesn't really matter.
Oh man, and just some little miscommunications there. Like Tian didn't get Shanks hit by the Shockwave because he pulled him out of it as it went off. Just little things going awry. Weibo's first strike at trying to take down AL in a team fight did not work for them, but their comp still thrives in those situations. See if they can use that at all here to stop this dragon stacking, as TP coming in from AL to try to fight this one.
Yeah, Tempered Fate available for Kael, and Weibo the one starting up this objective. You'd like to think that AL want to get in here to stop this. W used early by Breathe.
Shanks has a flank. They're looking for the Tempered Fate. If they all group up in that corner, they're going to get Tempered Fated, as they do end up doing that. The Impale comes through. Pop Blossom comes on to 3. Doesn't do much, and Crisp just gets melted. The flames that be, the flames that burn, and the flames that rise for anyone's legend comes through for a triple kill for Shanks.
No flash means that Light is going to get still chased down, and the Molten Shield gives him the movement speed. 4 kills for Shanks in that fight, and the Dragon gets picked up as well. This is AL just slowly but surely running away with this game. Weibo, they tried to take this fight just a little bit too early. This fight, it looked a little bit better. I will be honest, right? Like those circles, they joined up, they looked good. But once again, they didn't quite have enough in the tank to make the most of it. The Dragon goes the way of AL, they're now at Soul Point. And with a 4K gold lead, it's good news.
Good news for anyone's legend. Devastating for Weibo. As you think back to the last time these two teams met, Weibo did find the advantage, but here there is no advantage to be seen. We take a look how this fight broke down.
Yeah, so Breathe using that Hallowed Mist early on means that there's a free opportunity for Tarzan to go for an engage. Tian gets a 3-man Impale, a 3-man Pot Blossom, but unfortunately they're just in the faces of an Annie who's able to absolutely rip them to shreds. It just didn't quite have the damage. We talked about this composition coming online as the game got later. We're unfortunately not at that stage. We look at the items from an Orianna, it's an unstacked Rod of Ages. At that stage in the game, Light didn't have the finished Ginsus, and even still, Kai'Sa not particularly the best AoE team fighter in those burst situations, and it did really make it quite difficult.
And Shanks didn't even have to hit the Tibbers at the very beginning to win that fight. That's all that really matters. It's about a 4,000 gold lead, a little bit less so now for anyone's legend, but it just feels like they have complete control of this fight pressure. And we have about 20 seconds till that Atacon spawn that's going to be on the top side of the map. AL could push the issue into Weibo, who are lacking that damage still. They still have the Rift Herald play available to them, though.
And I mean, that's like a very small saving grace. I don't even think that a charge is going to take down a turret. They're going to need to try and go for some off-the-wall plays, like something a little bit unhinged, or just try and keep themselves as safe as possible, right? Like, again, I do still think that this Weibo composition can do well late game if they get there. The issue is that at the minute, them getting there doesn't really seem all that likely. With how well AL are team fighting and how well they're able to push their advantage, I think, 3 minutes time, we're going to see that soul spawning, getting that soul nice and early, and even pushing themselves to an early Elder might even be really good.
I think he wanted that setup right there. Not going to end up getting it. The Rift Herald got played in the mid lane, so here comes the rebuttal from Weibo. Yeah, Tempered Fate just instantly gets used. Tian doesn't get much value out of that one. The Rift Herald not even going to get a charge up, and the mid lane turret stands at over 90% health here for anyone's legend.
Yeah, taking that down is going to be a real task for Weibo as they spot
they might have gotten
Shanks.
Shanks. Oh, Crisp desperately trying to get Shanks. Is it enough? He finally... No, he flashes. He does go down in the end. Flandre gets picked as well on anyone's legend. They've lost 2 key members, but Kael trying to go for the kill on the Crisp anyways. That's just the support, though. Not going to be much value there. And anyone's legend caught looking a little bit there.
So 2 for 1, Tian did go down on the bottom side of that fight, and now this TP in, maybe a little bit overzealous, but it is Breathe who's there. He's got the W available, so he can actually keep himself safe under this turret. Whether the tier 1 falls, though, is that question. They've got the grubs to give them that backdoor bonus.
Oh, yeah, they're going to take him out. Breathe doesn't have any tools. That's a Shockwave goes wide from Xiaohu. Uncalculated and calculated by Hope. His demise is there. Dodging out Hope. What are these moves, man? You said he was always on fire. That man is burning up right now.
Yeah, barrier there because he thought the Void Seeker was going to connect. Didn't quite have the range, though, and Light not able to find that finishing touch on the fight. We do get to see some glimpses, though, of what it is that has made AL such a powerful force throughout the entire year. It's Hope on this time on the Corki, but really on any AD carry. Again, I talked about this in the top of the show. Even when AL was struggling, Hope was consistently providing a stable force in that bot lane. Now, an engage onto the Annie. This is a really good start of the fight for Weibo. They take down both solo laners without really any recompense. But then they just step a little bit too far forward. They get a bit too overzealous and think that they can go for, again, just that bit too much. The Void Grubs from earlier, once again, Mazel, you said it would cost them, and this is another instance where it happens to do exactly that. AL are able to take down the turret because of those Void Grubs. Not tanking it up means that they don't take anywhere near enough damage. And yeah, Hope takes 1 pop of the Q, but he's able to quite easily scout out the rest of it. Dodges the Tangle Barbs as well. And it's just really good footwork.
Oh my god, man. This guy has given me so much more faith in it. Like, for so many years, there was always a question mark for Hope. But is he going to be that impactful? Ever since his JDG run, I still remember one of the most impactful interviews after that run with JDG was him saying, I want to be known as a leader AD carry. I want to be known as a leader on any team I'm on. I want to know that I am the vocal majority there to try to be that shot calling. I don't know if that's the case for anyone's legend because we have heard that Tarzan takes a lot of that as well. But, man, if Hope's playing like this, I don't think there's anything that can stop him.
Yeah, and importantly, if he's playing like this, he doesn't need to be giving off good comms either. He just needs to play like a great AD carry, sit back and chill. We're looking at the game state right now. He's got 13 of 14 kill participation. He has not died, and it's constantly providing that damage output, constantly being the threat that his team needs him to be, and just making sure that there's never really any chance that Weibo can get into these fights. We say all of this, and I do want to highlight that Weibo were just able to take away the dragon there. It was AL looking to push a little bit of an advantage on the top side, taking the top turret, whether they were caught sleeping at the wheel a little bit, misprioritizing what they wanted, but that is 5 minutes bought for Weibo, and that's not nothing. I look at the gold lead, looking at a 5-14 kill score and how one-sided these fights have been, and the fact that it's only a 3k lead, it's not the worst situation for Weibo to be in, despite the fact, obviously, it's still very, very rough. And it's going to come back down to, again, Tian and Crisp. How well can this duo look at finding those fights? If Tian can find a monster in Kael, he'll set up for the rest of his team.
Yeah, it's not like Light is a slouch here. The Kaisa almost on 3 items now with the on-hit variety. It's going to sting. And now you have the Crypt Bloom completed for Xiaohu, so he truly is going off the deep end with this build, but going for that utility at least for himself. And we don't have another objective, at least for 20 seconds, for that Baron, but more importantly, that Dragon in about 3.5 minutes. Looks like we might get to crest over to 3 items for a couple members on the map here before that comes.
I mean, if you hit that stride, really, with the Rumble and the Wukong, I think those are the really big-ticket ones. Like, Corki hitting Collector's good, but he's at apex damage right now with that Trinity Force and the Mirror Mana. This is as good as it gets. For the Corki, the game doesn't necessarily get worse until the Kai'Sa starts catching up, so we need to wait for that to happen. But with a 2-level advantage in those AD carries as well, do you have to value the power that Hope is going to have in this game? 3 deaths for Light on the Kai'Sa means that he's very heavily behind the curve.
Okay, not going to be able to do much. Trying to catch
too many members of
Weibo
Weibo nearby.
Yeah. That's going to be a little tough. I do like that they're looking for it, but not able to find anything. That's what we said from the draft, right? AL, they are all about the pick potential. Yes, they have some team fighting, but they can catch you out in between with these tempered fates, with the Annie ults, things along those lines. It really puts a wrench into the works for Weibo. Weibo just won a group as 5 and meatball as much as possible. Timer counting down till that potential soul for anyone's legend on the Chemtech soul. A lot of bodies up towards this top side trying to get some preemptive vision around the Baron pit.
And that's a good look for AL. I mean, their Baron isn't the fastest necessarily. They've got Rumble with the Leandries, but I think that AL need to get this Baron sooner rather than later. Maybe they do it with the soul play that they're going to look for afterwards. That's not unrealistic to expect.
I think
Weibo, honestly, they have the Kai'Sa. They have the fast-taking team. 3 items now for Light. This is spotted. Kael knows that this is going down, but the rest of AL not particularly in position.
It's going to come down to a 50-50. Kael looking for a Tempered Fate, potentially going for it. Buys time. Tarzan looking for the smite. Shanks coming around the corner. This could be it. AL coming in to weed out Weibo. Pop Blossom from Chris. The flash play. They instantly target Shanks, but the Baron, it goes to Tarzan. They left Tian
Shanks is alive.
Himself.
Shanks is alive.
Kill Shanks. Weibo just absolutely fumbled the bag. This is a full play from AL. They completely chase everybody down. It does not look pretty. It does not look clean. AL decimate Weibo.
And what happened there, Mazel? Weibo caught in 2 minds. We need to peel off because it's a 50-50. We don't like 50-50. So everybody except Tian goes up to the top side to try to kill Shanks, who somehow lives against the might of the 3 members of Weibo that are all up there. Complete carnage ensues, and now AL, we said they need to take this Baron sooner rather than later. Weibo gifted it to them on a silver platter.
The last 2 fights ended up in a clean ace for anyone's legend, and that little lead has now snowballed completely out of favor for Weibo. Somebody has to make a call there. That is a tough situation, and with all this experience, you gotta think something's going wrong.
So, I mean, I can see that Tian needs to stay in the pit, and I like this heads-up play, but he doesn't get in range of his smite. He's so close. He suppresses Tarzan so that Tarzan can't smite, but he moves himself out of smite range, so he can't actually get in range to smite it away and to at least save something of this play. Again, the fact that Light is staying to DPS here, he knows he's already dead, and we cut back to live. Tian's dead once again.
All right, well.
And now a teleport's coming in from Breathe.
We're just dominoes falling here. Flandre might be the domino that falls back. Tempered Fate hits on the Xiaohu. That extra little bit of give back in as Chris tries to hit a Pop Blossom. Doesn't hit anybody in the end. Tarzan finds backline access, and another ace comes through. 3 in a row. Anyone's Legend are tired of Weibo being on the same rift of them. They lost the last time these two teams met, but they got the hangover cure. They got the eggs and bacon they needed. They are wakey eggs and bacon here. Anyone's Legend destroy Weibo Gaming from top to bottom in game number 1 of this best of 3.
And I think we should let people sit with that. This wasn't close. There was a 15-minute window where we were looking at AL and saying, can you push the pace of this game? You know, you've got all the neutral objectives. You're doing the legwork through the early game, but those kills, we've not really seen them just yet. And then just like a flick of the switch, Weibo looked to contest one of the dragons down on bot side. AL decide, hold on, these are ours. This is our time for our comp to shine. And they just take it. They absolutely destroyed Weibo. Every single time that Weibo showed up to teamfight, they were unprepared. They were not ready for the power that AL had, and they lost because of it.
I'll give it to Weibo. They died together 3 times in a row. They did. They all died. And honestly,
in terms of communication issues, that's not the problem this time.
The teamwork, baby. It feels tough to see it go that way because, again, maybe we're giving a little too much expectation setting for Weibo with the experience they have on the team, because they have struggled this split. But when you're in a top tier matchup like this, you want to rise to the occasion, right? Rise to that level, and it just felt like we were lacking that coordination across multiple different plays for Weibo, and that has been consistently a big problem for this team across this split and across this year. It feels like in a lot of cases, and for anyone's Legend, I mean, keep it the same. Don't change anything. It looked real damn good, and Kael's Bard comes in clutch yet again.
And I really like the fact that we got to see an early game snowball from AL, really. Like, this is a type of comp that forces you to do something, and the fact that they were able to actually get away with that, and the fact that they did it successfully inspires a little bit of confidence, right? This is a comp that if we'd have gone to 40 minutes and it had been neutral, we'd have been looking at Weibo thinking, all right, how are you going to sign on the dotted line for game number 1? But AL were able to push the pace of this game really well, and Hope, again, immaculate performance on the Corki, didn't put a foot wrong. Shanks as well, again, on this Annie, somehow having a monster performance where he finds a triple kill around a dragon fight, where he's constantly looking at the right targets, making sure that he's picking up those correct allocations of stuns, and making sure that Weibo are sort of sat in the dirt without any chance to fight back.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the history for anyone's Legend, I mean, this is a comp they love to go for in game number 1. This is a comp we often see them get in game number 1. And I know for a lot of the split, we called them game 1 Andes a lot of the time. And I'm very curious to see how they evolve into that next game itself. But you see how one-sided this game was. 1 Rift Herald, 1 Dragon, 2 turrets, and yes, some kills, but not very many going the way of Weibo Gaming. And I got to give huge props to Hope. I got to know what his warm-up is. What is he doing? Is he bullet dodging? Like, is he doing the Matrix in real life? Because the guy out the gate in game number 1 was out-handsing everybody, it felt like.
Yeah, I just was really on top of it. And I mean, he's had a very solid Corki throughout the years, and I think that the fact that he's now happy that it's finding a little bit more purchase in the LPL and that it's actually increasing in priority quite significantly down on the bot side, it seems like one of his really comfortable picks. And I think that as we look through these highlights, I want to highlight for Weibo that this time, it wasn't people getting caught out on side lanes. It wasn't people making rash decisions that gets them caught out. It's a team-wide misunderstanding of what it is that they can accomplish. And, multiple instances here, there are just fights that AL should not be forced into taking, right? Like, they should just win it quite easily. And, I'd like to think that Weibo can also recognize that in the future, that they don't actually need to have a early game caught, or they don't have to fight with this late game style if they don't want to.
They knew half the plan, and it was to do nothing in the early game. Unfortunately, the second part of the plan got lost in translation, and they weren't able to put it together. There were some really, I mean, you could see why this comp was drafted together. There's some really flashy moments, even if nothing happens. It looks really damn cool. But yeah, it just unfortunately doesn't end well for them. And the fact that Shanks got a quadra kill off this fight as well. AL were absolutely thorough. And I still, every time I see the Nico play, every time I see that combo, and especially that Chris played it like 4 times this time around, I'm just wondering how much longer the Flash Pop Blossom play is going to be there.
Yeah, it's again, it's looking like Weibo had better ideas this time round.
Oh, this one hurts.
And I need to see. So Zhonya's goes down, right? But then I guess he just flashes phase rush as well, most likely. Stuns light, yeah, flash phase rush. He's able to actually get out of the way.
Because Xiaohu has no damage. Xiaohu has literally no damage.
That's true.
Like, oh gosh, that sucks. Sucks for Weibo, but we'll see if they can bounce back in game number 2. Because I think, you know, one thing I do expect these teams, as I said at the beginning of the day, I expect a 6-game banger on the day. So, you know, we'll see if Weibo can bounce back. I expect them to be back on blue side. Still a lot of big picks left on the table. I do wonder what happens to that AD pool. But comparatively, I guess if we're looking at the AD pool, I do got to say Hope definitely had the better end of things versus Light in this game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, on the Kai'Sa, you'd like to think that there's better setup to help him go diving. Kai'Sa front to backing isn't always what you want. Yes, she's got not awful damage versus tanks and versus frontline, but what you really want is to just one-shot the enemy ADC. And in a situation where Corki's Valkyrieing onto you and you're not able to take that 1v1, that kind of shows you the state of the game and the struggle with which really that Light had that entire time.
All right, I want to see the Hope MVP here for his Corki. Will be rising to the kind of tied 3rd, 4th most played champions for him this split. But this AL, man, it really feels like they're back. Like, I know we've hesitated for like probably 2 weeks now to say AL's back, baby. But I really do. Oh, it's Kael. Okay.
I'm not against that.
They didn't see the moves that Hope was putting on people.
I'm not against this, like, in terms of how they were able to start off fights. Like, Kael wasn't, I mean, 1-0-19, right? An incredible scoreline, 87% kill participation. Like, he did all of the right things, did everything right in this game, and maybe it was just that Hope did some things a little bit more or less right in this game that are why we're advocating for it.
I mean, hey, Kael's Bard is always a pleasure. It always has impact. It always makes the game completely upended, I feel like, so many times. So congratulations to Kael for earning that MVP in game number 1. AL do end up winning game 1 from red side. We'll see if Weibo can bounce back. I'm sure they're going to be on blue side. We'll see what kind of draft they want to approach with. But before we go to that break for game number 2, if you'd like to support LPL English, please consider subscribing to our coffee. Becoming a coffee member is the best way to support the LPL English unofficial project, since the vast majority of your contributions go straight to paying for the broadcast, as well as the volunteers that put this show on a daily basis as well. So please go check out our coffee subscription tiers. Go check out what feels right to you, and give anything you can to the LPL English product. As it's been a pleasure to be able to put this on for the year, and we're coming to the end here, getting closer and closer to those world spots for the LPL. So go check out that link in chat, and we will see you here for game number 2 after a short little break going through.